Welcome back everybody to another video. My name's John and I actually am doing this video as a request. I did a video on my Camp Chef 2-burner stove that I got some requests and comments from people saying that they don't need a 2-burner stove, and they were wondering if I had any reviews or any information about 1-burner stoves. And certainly there are a ton of 1-burner stoves out there, and so I've used 3 different ones that I've been happy with, and certainly lots of backpacking stoves. But what I'm going to talk about today is not backpacking stoves. These are 1-burner, car camping, outdoor camping, whatever you want to use them for. But they're 1-burner stoves, and I'm going to do them here. I'm actually in my camper. I'm going to use them in my camper. Now, before you make any comments about how they're not made for indoor use, you're right, they're not, or they're not advertised as indoor use, but we're going to be using them a very short time. It's windy outside, it's cold outside, and if I do it outside, I just don't think that this is going to work real well for this review. So I'm going to do the review and use them in here. There's plenty of ventilation, we'll be fine. Just put your mind at ease if you're ready to make a comment on that. So anyway, to start off, I have 2 left. I had a gas 1-burner stove that after several years actually quit working and failed on me. I bought it the same time that I bought this Iwatani, and I have no clue if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's an Iwatani ZA3HP. And it's a 1-burner butane fuel stove. I use these canisters in it, and this one is a 12,000 BTU stove, and this one is my Eureka Spark 1-burner stove with the same sort of fuel in it, and I can't remember the BTUs on this one. I think it's an 8 or 9,000 BTU. Now, I'll go ahead and say the BTUs matter. They matter a lot when you're out cooking and trying to do stuff with these. The more BTUs, the better. At least that's my opinion on it. The more BTUs, the better. Especially if you're able to adjust the volume of fuel that's coming through and into the burner. That makes a big difference if you need to use. I did a review on my Omni stove that goes, it's a oven that goes on top of these, and it requires you to be able to adjust them down so that you can get the right temperatures in your Omni oven, and it's important to be able to adjust them, but it's also important to have just tons of power that comes out of these things. And both of these I find to be adequate for what I need. There have been occasions when I've thought, man, I'd like a little bit more juice coming out of them, but for the most part, any sort of cooking I need to do, they work fine. Now, goods and bads. Good is, they're fairly small, lightweight. They've got these cases that they come with, and you can throw them in your car, throw them in your gear, in the back of the truck, whatever you need to do. They're protected in these cases, and I don't have to worry much about them. The bad, these little butane tanks, especially when you're running 12,000 BTU, if I'm trying to do some heavy cooking, running heavy cooking, let's say in the morning I want to do eggs and bacon and maybe cook some biscuits in my Omni oven. Let's say at lunch that, well, we normally do sandwiches at lunch when we're out and about like that, but let's say at lunch I wanted to heat up some chicken nuggets or something, and maybe a can of beans, and then at supper, let's say that here, let me look at you. Let's say for supper then we do some brownies after supper, and for supper we cook some hamburgers or chicken strips or something like that. Especially when I'm using the oven, I go through a lot more fuel. You're going to want to have plenty of these fuel things. I keep I keep, if I'm going for an overnighter where I use these, I'll take 3 canisters with me for the 2 stoves. That way I have at least one backup. And usually that's not an issue. If I'm going to go for 4 or 5 days, I generally will make sure I have 12 to 18 canisters with me. I don't use them all, but in that sort of heavy cooking environment, especially for a family of 5, and when I'm using the Omnia oven a lot, I find that I burn through them quick. And so I would assume 1 canister per day at least that you're going to burn through if you're cooking that heavy with them. And so I just don't want to run out. I've been there where I ran out and that was a problem. So anyway, let's take a look at these a little bit more in depth. So the goods, you know, these are adjustable, and they actually do simmer down pretty well. Both of them do. The bads, this one has this wind screen and this sort of thing. And how much does that actually help? Not a lot. I guess it helps a little bit compared to this one that doesn't have it, the Iwatani. But if it's windy, you've got to do something about it. You can't just set this up and think that you're okay because you have this windscreen. You're going to find a lot of lost efficiency and just a lot of frustration. And so what I generally do is when it's really windy, I'll take and I'll open up this and I'll figure out which way the wind is blowing, and I'll literally set it up like that. Okay? So when it's windy, that's what I'll do. I'll take that and set that up to try to block that wind. And it's amazing the difference that makes. If it's super windy, it won't solve the problem, and you have to get a little bit more aggressive. And so maybe I'll take the other one and I'll set myself up like this to make it work better. So if it's windy, just don't believe that the windscreen that they come with is going to take care of the wind. And obviously this one has no windscreen, and so you better be prepared to do that. Oh, tough to do this one-handed. Okay, there we go. And I'll set them up like that, and then I can cook. And that'll make a big difference when I'm but I usually set it up like this on the back of the truck, on the tailgate, and then I'm able to operate. So let's turn these on and see how they work and what they do. Okay. So the first thing you'll notice is how to load it. Let's get the right angle here. So these come with this red cap on them. You'll notice that this is notched. This bottle has a notch in the top that you can see. That notch lines up with this right here. Now you can't turn the knob until you pull down this lever and engage that bottle. Now, see, you can turn it. You can turn it and use it. So to ignite this one, you go all the way and you see it lights right off. And that's really tough to see. But you can see that's 12,000 BTU burner, and it's cooking pretty well. Now the other one, you know, it's set up the same way. Oops. The other one has the exact same setup. It's got this notch right here, and what that little spring does, I have no clue, but you can see it's on there, and the bottle's notched. I guess it guides you in like that. And once again, this one won't turn until you engage that bottle. Then it works. And this one, you have to there we go. That one took a moment to get the gas to it. I assume you saw that. So these both are great. Now let's light these off with a pot of water and see how quick they boil. Okay, put some water in there. Let's see, 65, or just about 65 degrees. Okay, and this is the pot I would use if I was going to make some mac and cheese and make a small batch. Certainly a boxed back mac and cheese, but we don't make that often. I usually just use elbow noodles. And so, let's see, we're at the 20th. Let's turn this on and okay, it's lit. You can see it under there. Really pumping the heat on that. And it so we've been at this one minute from igniting the stove. We're now at 1 minute and about 15 seconds. And we're at 155 degrees. So about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, well, 2 minutes and 15 seconds to bring that water to a boil. And that's on the Iwatani. Okay, here we have a second pot of water. And this one is on the Eureka Spark. And the temperature on this one's a little cooler because the tap ran longer. And so it's showing at 51.4. What was the other one? 65? So there's about 15 degrees there. Difference from, I think it was 65. Alright, but nonetheless, let's ignite it. That one, see, the Iwatani fires off quicker, but I've never had this one not ignite. It just maybe take 2 or 3 pushes. Now you can see it's really pumping the heat on there fast. Okay, 30 seconds right there, I think, is about where we're at. Okay, we're approaching the 1 minute mark. 2 minute mark. And at approximately 2 minutes and 15 seconds we're boiling. So you can see that both stoves boiled that amount of water pretty quick. Now obviously this isn't super scientific. I didn't measure the water out, make sure they were exact same temperature to start with. But the point was just to show a practical use of the stoves. Now I do carry both, and I frequently use one and I frequently use both. For example, I will generally put the Omnia oven on the Eureka, and I'll boil my water for noodles and such on the Iwatani. I have a tendency to pull out either one for most any task. I find, you know, the Iwatani's a little bit larger, but not much, than the Eureka. They're very stable, have no complaints about either. The Eureka does have these leveling legs. I rarely make much adjustment to them. I find it's easier just to find a level spot because, you know, you're only picking up a ½ inch at best on that. But it does have those leveling legs on the sides, just on this one side. Oh, as far as cooling down, they cool down fairly quick, so I never worry much about having to wait a long time to get them cooled down. They cool down nice and quick, and so that's a good thing. The metal on them doesn't stay hot. In fact, I don't know that I want to grab it yet, but this one's cooled down. The gas one stove I had, this part actually came out and made it a little easier to wash. You can see they're not super clean, but it's pretty open, so if you really wanted to scrub it down and clean it, you could. You can see I don't worry a whole lot about it. If it gets really nasty, I'll clean it, but the little bit of grease and droppings and stuff on it, I just don't worry a whole lot about. And we're live on this, and it's been about 2 minutes since I shut it off, and you can see, I mean, I don't want to grab it with my hand, but I can touch it. I can touch it. Yeah. So see, I could put that back in the container and not worry about it. It wouldn't melt or ignite the container on fire. It's not hot enough to burn my hand here. These are still warm enough to where I don't want to do a whole lot of touching on them, but it's not hot enough to burn my hand. All right, well, okay, so that's one burner stoves. The 3 I've owned, the 2 I currently still have. Hopefully that review was helpful to those that are only needing a 1 burner stove. I appreciate you watching. Hit that like and subscribe button, and have a great day. Thanks.